Welcome to The Whole Pineapple. I'm Ruby Boris.
And I'm Ann Judge. The Whole Pineapple is a podcast about wellness focused around fertility. And on these weekly mini episodes, we bring you bite-sized ideas for you to snack on.
Like breathing exercises, book reviews. Maybe we'll review some scientific research, or we'll share some wellness and fertility stories from our listeners.
So if you're looking for a tip or a trick related to your fertility and well-being, then you've come to the right place.
Let's dig in. Welcome back, everyone. We're so excited to be here on this Saturday, and I hope you listened to the last episode on Thursday with Meirav Zur. And we're so excited to have her back today because we're going to talk a little bit more about Inconceivable. I definitely encourage you to go back and listen to the first episode on Thursday so you get a good idea of her story and her shows and her work and everything. And we will definitely be linking her show in our show notes. It is Inconceivable, the totally true one-woman semi-fertile quasi-musical. And I'm so excited for this. Are you ready?
We are. I forgot to ask the first time, why is musical in quotes?
Because it's on purpose. First of all, the whole title is like, it is, but not, but sort of, but kind of, which is kind of like infertility. It's like, what is it kind of? And then musicals in quotes, mainly because it's kind of in a musical format. Like there's speaking and kind of musical bits, but I'm not a singer. So it's kind of like rap, but not really, but kind of song. So yeah.
Which is also like infertility. It's like a thing you did not prepare for. And now people are making you do it anyway. Yeah. So
exactly.
It's just like us trying to sing on the podcast randomly, Anne. Although you're much more successful at it than I am. So.
Well, you should do it in a British accent.
Yeah, Ruby bragged about her accent abilities in episode 1, so I think this is definitely the time. Maybe at the end, maybe you can just say like, good day or something. We'll let you.
I highly doubt they actually say that very often in Australia.
So we convinced you to come back to give us just a little taste of the kind of stuff that you have in your quote unquote musical. So whatever you feel like performing for us, we will promise to clap really loud.
Awesome. Well, for today, considering everything is going to be kind of out of context of the show, but I wanted to share this musical bit I created, asking the audience that I'm sure they know that there's probably so many other things that you could try to get pregnant. And I say, believe me, I have. I think I've pretty much tried everything unconventional that there is out there. In fact, there's so many things that I have collected them and condensed them into this small wrap. So that is what I will do for you today.
That's awesome.
Okay, so here we go. As the clock ticks, there are some tricks to deviate from what's conventional. Instead of hormone shots, there must be lots of stuff to try. That's unconventional. Oh, I've tried juices, smoothies, and all kinds of shakes, and listening to fertility audio tapes, diets that are gluten-free, vegan, and organic. The clock's still ticking, but don't panic. I've tried acupuncture on my tummy, reflexology on my feet, Chinese herb tea, that's not yummy, and Peruvian roots to eat. Heat cupping on my back and peeled almonds for a snack, eating a carrot a day with a mantra to say, vitamins, yoga, different sexual positions, meeting some self-proclaimed fertility magicians, mystical group challah baking, not thinking about all this baby making, creams, oils, and a weird smelling powder. The clock's still ticking. Is it getting louder? I've tried all kinds of acupuncture, meditation, NLP, counseling, drops of relaxation, magnets on my toes, yes, even those, brainwave music, and a bunch of weird props. Oddly enough, the ticking never stops. I've even tried belly dancing and aligning my cycle with the moon. I don't seem to be at all advancing, but my unconventional list now has a tune. Now stop. Wait. Here is, finally, the best professional tip. And by best, I really mean worst. Said so easily, obviously, could just make you burst. Relax. Don't think about it. And that's kind of where it stops.
Oh, that's so true. So relatable.
And those are really, did you honestly do all those things?
And even more stuff.
Because I believe it. I know, I'm listening. I'm like checking off as well. I was like, yep. So
I performed this one of the earlier shows. And there was a woman in the audience. And later she was like, I was listening to your list. You didn't try aspirin pills. Have you tried baby aspirin? I'm like, oh no, I didn't try baby
Nobody came up to
aspirin.
ask you, your fertility magician? I feel like that would be something to find out about.
Yeah, I've actually been to several self-proclaimed fertility magicians, but alas, their tricks didn't work on me.
Well, that's what I think about too. When I look back on my days, like it's all, I mean, there's so much randomness to it. And so like had the cycle that I got pregnant been the cycle that I did like Reiki balancing and craniosacral therapy and hypnosis, I would be like, that's what it was. I'm so glad I did that. And I would be like telling everybody versus, you know, after I kind of, by the time you get on to like multiple rounds, you're sometimes, it's like a bell curve. Like you, in the beginning, you don't think you need anything.
Yeah.
And then you start adding more and more stuff. And then you're doing everything. And then if it's still not happening, I think you kind of toss your hands up. You're like, maybe all this isn't helping me after all.
It's totally that. And it's like, there's another bit in my show also where I talk about it. It's like this, you go into this fertility OCD because you're like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and I gotta do that. And then there's all that scheduling and everything. It's like, it's crazy. Yeah. There's so much.
I think they're the things that, whether or not they're making your medical outcome any different, like, are they at least making you feel better versus are they making you feel worse?
They're probably not helping at all, at least mentally. Because it's like keeping up. Wait, and I have to put the magnets on my toes, but only for 3.5 hours and then only in the morning. You know, you become obsessed with so many. And usually it's multiple things because you're trying everything and you're like, it's time. I got to do it now. There's just so much that no wonder everyone's like, you go crazy. You really go crazy. And it's also because you're trying for something that is supposedly naturally supposed to happen.
Yeah, I do feel like that is the hard part. If we were in just like this future sci-fi version where like everybody, when they're ready to procreate, goes to the clinic and like goes through everything and the lab mixes up, then it would just seem like totally normal. You wouldn't feel weird.
In the future, it'll be provided in a quick little pill or a shake, and it's one time, wham, bam, you're done. That's how, right? That's how it'll be.
I mean, it's conceivable in the future that you will be able to just get like pluripotent stem cells. And so you would just like, they take a little biopsy and then you just convert it into eggs and you could have like, 100 embryos and test for everything. It's not as far off as you'd think to imagine those kinds of scenarios. But then even in that time, you're like, if that was what everybody did, that would be different than if that was what like you only did as a last resort. Like it's that sense of like you being different and you not just having something happen without any kind of intervention that I think feels so isolating because you feel like there's something wrong with you, even though there's not. Like this is like such a common situation and it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. Similarly, it doesn't mean these things that you're going to do are what's going to make it right.
Yes, I think deep down people have that concept of, okay, I know that it wasn't reported years ago in fertility, but clearly it seems like it's happening, or at least the unexplained kind is happening more. Why? Like, I think that is actually a good question to ask because, it is a bunch of reasons, but I think lifestyles now are totally different and your environment now is totally different, for the human than what we've evolved to. Our biological evolution has not caught up with everything else. And I think that's also the problem because there's an underlying thing.
Well, you're speaking Ruby's language now, the fact that people will do all kinds of alternative treatment, but not think about looking at nutrition, not being like the real basic what I'm putting in my body every day.
Because it's easier to sit and meditate than to change your whole diet. Yeah, I know. It's like, what are we putting into our bodies? What are we putting around our bodies? Oh, it does have an impact? Okay. Like you wouldn't have thought that, which is also what I guess kind of as consumers also, we were kind of told and learned that's how it was. So
when you're ending and relax is so hard because totally that's like everybody's trigger where it's like, oh, I hate when people tell me that. But you also realize like if you could help someone, that is what you wish you could give them, give them some sort of like peace and, not because that'll make the outcome happen, but at least then it won't feel so hellish when you're in it.
Right. I cut it off because it kind of blends into the next part. So I didn't want to go on for like another hour, but I continue a little bit because it's like, talk about it like that. It's not a switch. It's not like, oh, okay. Oh, that's what that is. I just have to switch on my relax switch. Okay. Because it's not like that. You could potentially relax. It could potentially be helpful, but it's not easy to do that. And it's not easy to do that when you have all these other things going on. Like I loved when I'd go into fertility clinic for tests or whatever. And they'd be like, okay, so just relax. And, like they're about to poke you for a blood test or whatever. Like, just relax. And I'm like, can I share with you the list of things right now that,
And you're like, you don't think I did that 3 times before calling?
Oh, relaxing. Why didn't I think of that? That's such a good hint. Oh my gosh.
I think you should say that to your next pay. Actually, don't take my word for it. It might go haywire, but you could say, have you tried alt control delete? It's just so much. I think people are not aware that it's just so much, and so much is, weighing on you, and, you're relying on so much, and it's dependent on so many things, and it's like, it's worth so much. It's everything.
And it's like the chicken or the egg from hell, right? Because you're like, does stress cause fertility? We're not exactly sure, but it certainly does cause fertility. And it's like this big cycle of things. And then you're stressed about being stressed, and, and like, I should just relax.
Yeah. And then there's this whole new thing now. It's relatively new for me, about like generational trauma with infertility. And I'm like, what? Like another thing that I have to also consider? Yes, it's probably that too.
Yes. We just recorded our episode for epigenetics, which is coming out like right before yours, so it's probably already out there. And that was one of the topics, that and environmental stuff, where every time I think about it, I'm like, this is too much. I can't. Yeah. My head's going to explode. It's just so hard.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, like, humanity is, and life in general, it's quite a miracle. I mean, there's so many things that have to happen in order for life to happen, in order for that to come through, and it's quite amazing. It's basically the planets have to be aligned. Like, that's what I say. I was like, basically the planets have to be aligned. Like, it's like crazy.
No, Ruby knows I'm a big musical theater nerd, and I love that in the musical Matilda, where they're singing in the very beginning about, like, the most unlikely thing is life, that this happens, and like every life is a miracle. And of course it's that sense of like, once you really think in fertility about all the things that have to happen, that's the other reason it seems so frustrating, that it seems to happen easily for other people.
I was just going to say, when patients ask me, they're like, why didn't my IUI work or whatever? And then we get to talking about like all the things that have to happen and aligned for that to happen. But it's so unsatisfying to say, like, you know how many things that have to happen? And then most patients look at me, they're like, yeah, but like so-and-so down the street from me,
Yeah, forgot to use, protected sex, and they didn't have protected sex. They forgot to use, any kind of contraceptive, and here they are pregnant with triplets and naturally. And you're like,
well, we can't end on that, guys. That's a big bummer. We need something happier to say at the end.
Yeah, let's talk about something else. So vaginas. Yeah, I think also that, I do have to say that, I think that is also part of the big stressor of the whole fertility experience. It's not that you're going in, let's say you were going in for like, some sort of weight loss plan or some sort of weight gain plan or some sort of muscle, like gym type of situation where, like, as you can see by the way I'm talking about it, you could tell that I'm not in a gym type situation because I'm calling it a gym type situation. But yes, you know what I'm talking about. So, they have this whole plan, and it's just your body. You get on these contraptions and you work your muscles, right? But no, in fertility, you have to be literally exposed, and it's weird. It's strange. I think that's part of it too.
Well, it's funny you bring up the gym thing. For some reason, this reminds me, like, years ago on a vacation, my husband and I got suckered in by one of those, like, do this special cleanse, whatever they were doing, and you're gonna like lose inches, and you're like, inches just in this one session? And yeah, you go in, and what they do is they take this tape measure and they measure you all over. They like measure your arms and your this and your that, and they measure kind of loose. And then you do the stuff, and then they come back in and they measure again a little tighter. And they're like, oh, look, you lost 1/4 of an inch here and 1/4 of an inch here. And they add it all up, and they're like, that's how you lost 3 inches. And so I feel like in infertility too, like, you may not be able to relax, but if you could make each little bit of what's awful a little bit less awful, then maybe eventually it adds up to you feeling more like a whole person,
I think that is much better than the whole measuring thing, obviously. Yeah. Yes, I think that's great. I guess you could get someone really, really stressed before they come into the clinic, and then when they come into the clinic, it's like, oh, it's not as stressful as it is out there.
That's right. We should like hide the signs for the parking and like put up some cones and make it so everybody's like late and can't find it. And then they walk in.
Yeah. And then they come in. It's like, oh, all relative, right? Yeah.
We have that actually in the office that I'm in, because there is apparently some SRM building company as well. And so if you just type it into one of the map searches, you end up in like a random office park. I've had people who like, they come in and they're so late and they're so upset because they they want to be polite, right? Like, we're not going to show up too early, even though we got to our appointment 20 minutes early, and they like stroll in the door like, 10 minutes early, and the office company is like, we're a building management company. And then they realize that they need to find the fertility clinic. But it's true. I've had people who are like, okay, well, now the most stressful part of this visit is done for you.
Right.
You're here, like, take a deep breath. Like, now we're just going to get the stuff done. So
Totally.
All right. We need to hire stand-ins to just like create traffic outside of each of our offices, I guess.
And then they can come in and sit in the lobby and make conversation. They'll do all the things we talked about in the first episode too.
Exactly. So be like, hey, I saw you in the parking lot. I'm the one that...
That's it. Okay, we're going to put that on the budget for next year. We're going to hire...
There's so many things to add to the budget. Yeah, they could be out there with like, those little lights like at the airport, this way, with like little sperm lights and eggs.
Oh, there you go. Put a fertility clinic at the end, like in the terminal of the airport.
People are killing a lot of times before flights too. That'd be a good time to get a little fertility workup.
That's right.
If we just had a little check in AMH and before your flight, and then by the time you get off at your destination, you can find out your results. So
my cortisol level in the airport, I tell you what.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
But yes, definitely keep us posted on when your show starts. Maybe, Ruby, we got to find a way to do a field trip because that would be super fun. And we can have our own, what was it again? Hormones and cookies after party with you?
Yeah, we'll have our own private hormones and cookies. I think that would be, I think that's the best, right? It's the best way.
Any excuse for us to get out of this gray weather for 10.5 months out of the year.
Right. I think you need to have some like sun lamps in your clinic, right? Just be like, hey, go sit in our little fake sun for a little bit.
Vitamin D. It's important for fertility.
Yeah.
That's another good waiting room idea. So
okay, I think I've expanded your budget by just a few short of $5 million.
Yeah.
Which is great. I came and did what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Brad, are you listening?
Well, thank you so much. You've been such a pleasure to talk to, and I'm just so impressed that you were able to do this, and I think although it's your unique situation, like I've had similar patients. Like I had someone, she was a documentary filmmaker, and so she's like, you know what, I feel better if I'm like in the clinic, but it's like through a lens. So she filmed her journey, and I feel like, we all, when you're going through infertility, you're still you, and so find the parts that are important to you, and find how that can help you get through it instead of trying to completely separate your infertility self from your real self.
Totally. do what is good for you. Like I think whatever is good for you to kind of get it out is good. Not to feel the pressure of let's say documenting things. I think a lot of people like on social media, they're like, oh, I need to post a picture of myself crying after my negative no, you don't have to. Like it's not, you do you. Like everyone has their own little thing. Maybe you need to create a little potted plant. Maybe that's your thing. I think that's important too.
I think we can end it on all of that. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of the Whole Pineapple Podcast. We hope it was helpful.
If you know someone who could benefit from hearing the podcast, we hope you'll share it with them.
And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the Whole Pineapple on your favorite podcast app. Every rating and review makes us easier to find.
This podcast is sponsored by Seattle Reproductive Medicine and is produced by Audiotocracy Podcast Production. We'll see you next time. Have a delicious week.